Salutations, my friends, and thank you for tuning in to another edition of Factions of Freedom. I'm your host, Noisera, Freedom Faction, whichever one you prefer, and I have titled this episode Organized Occult Operations, because we're going to be looking at all kinds of things that suggest indeed we are seeing a resurgence of paranormal and occult activity. Earlier this week, I did an episode with Ron Johnson where we talked about a number of types of things that these Satanists and Luciferians are doing. I mentioned the occult timeline that I have prepared for you guys that is revised, that we will go over in this actual episode. There's a number of things that this episode was a toss-up between doing another paranormal perspective or clearly tackling the occult. But seeing as how so much information has come out this week, as I said before, mentioning the fact that we are seeing more of this activity take place, more of this occult, paranormal activity, however you want to look at it, happening. So much so that it was a little bit overwhelming. So what I think is going to happen is we're going to talk about these types of things, and if anything afterwards, the following episode will be a paranormal perspective, if nothing comes up. Let's hope. But as always, please stay tuned. Also, make sure you guys are becoming part of our Patreon exclusive, because I'm going to be going over some of the stuff that we went over in our exclusive segment earlier this week. So definitely check that out. The links will be in the description bar below. And as always, you know, we're diversifying everything, but you guys don't want to hear that. You don't want to hear about all the other operations that we're up to in the background. So with that being said, let's jump right into it. So as I said before, we're going to be talking about these occult operations, and I talked about this in our exclusive, how this occult timeline, this world that we're living in, how no one's able to see these connections that with all this resurgence, and we'll get into this as well, how people like Hillary Clinton are coming back, and all these witches that are practicing this kind of occult magic, aren't they, you know, if they're trying to curse Trump, aren't they also trying to curse America? I mean, I know America has a sordid past already, but this most certainly won't help. So to read to you guys a few things from this actual timeline, because it starts from May 1st all the way to today, which is March 2nd, May 1st of 2016, all the way until today. And one of the things that happened today was, in fact, that a Wisconsin teacher is on leave for using a Ouija board in a kindergarten class. Yeah, I'm just going to let that resonate a little bit. and these are the types of things that I'm trying to illustrate to you guys. You know, whenever they pop up in the news, they may not make sense to you guys. It might not make sense right as soon as it happens, but it's the culmination of what it all means when it comes together that we need to look at, and I don't think a lot of people are truly understanding that. So let me ramble off some of these dates. May 1st, New York Cathedral is burned. May 13th, exorcisms are on the rise in Idaho. May 18th, over 100 school children are possessed, and this is, I think, in somewhere in South America. And what's weird is I see a lot of these mass possessions taking place. There's also one, I think, in Cambodia. I talked about this with Lori in another show, in our Nephilim human-animal hybrid show, how there is an entire mass possession that took place due to kids using the Ouija board app. And I know, you know, that sounds silly, but what is it there for? You see. Continuing, May 21st, ex-witch Beth says that the occult is rising. And we'll get back to ex-witch Beth as well. June 6th, and this, what's weird about this, guys, is I had never made this correlation up until I started to put this timeline together. I mean, I go on and on and on about both of these types of things, but I had literally never made the correlation up until now. But check this out. You know how I've said that the Satanic Temple of Los Angeles was trying to create a city-wide pentagram to raise awareness for Satan? Well, on the same day was the Gother Tunnel ritual. Could this be evidence of them trying to open up portals? And this is what I really mean. This is, if anything, I hope this encapsulates the concept of an organized occult operation, what these people are doing behind our backs that we're not necessarily noticing. Like I said, I myself did not notice this occult operation until I started to put this together. And I've talked about the Godly Tongue ritual as well, and how I feel like it symbolizes them trying to bring in actual spirits, bring in other entities into the realm, into our world. You see, and then whenever you talk about things like giant pentagrams to raise awareness for Satan, are we that far off? Are we really that far off? So let me get back to this timeline, because there's a lot of dates on here. There's a lot of things that have happened between May 1st and today. So there were mysterious purple clouds over CERN, June 24th, March 12th. Father Jose Antonio Fortea said that Mexico needs a mass exorcism. And what's crazy is we'll get into a clip later on, or if anything, after somewhere in between this, how in, I think, Chile, literally like a few moments before I actually came onto the air to do this episode, I had posted a clip of a haunting that took place in Chile. If anything, let's stop the timeline and look at it right here. And for the people that are listening, we simulcast video and audio. So what's happening right now is the photographer is standing in a kitchen. And something has just pushed down a shelf, a refrigerator, or some kind of object to the man that was praying.
Tengo todo grabado.
So the article title, for people that are curious about what's actually going on right now, Chilean National Police are spooked by seemingly haunted house. And so it basically goes on to say that a local reporter also reported feeling a dark presence when visiting a home, complete with strange, unexplained anxiety and numbness in her legs. Police... Oh, sorry, I jumped all over the place. But this story, however, contains an official report from an entire squad of carabineros, and this is Chile's official national police force. According to the Chilean news outlet Corroborativa, the carabineros were called into a home into a southern Chilean town of Puerto Montt on Sunday, February 26, when the home's residents were reported witnessing strange paranormal phenomena. The family claims small fires were seen spontaneously igniting, and objects were thrown about by what sounds like a poltergeist, as you guys saw right there in the video while this man was praying. The actual video itself, or in the one of the objects, one of the shelves, or if it was a refrigerator there, actually collapsed. It goes on to say that burnt objects and debris were littered in the area. Objects outside the house were also found, and in the home. The morning after, police were called. Video taken the night of the incident actually shows, a lot of panicked voices yelling and the sounds of glass breaking, as you guys heard. Police arrived around 2 in the morning to find the house in disarray, with several broken windows and various household items strewn about the residence. The Carabinero Sergeant Boris Oliveira claimed that he immediately felt the presence of dark forces immediately after arriving at the home. At first it was strange, but once inside I felt I was questioning one of the owners when a trowel fell from the attic. I called upon the devil, telling him to get out of there, and when I was leaving, it felt like a knife that grazed my back. Since I was wearing a bulletproof vest, I was able to avoid injury. And so it basically goes on to explain more of the paranormal things that are happening there. So what am I trying to do by illustrating the fact that there are haunted houses taking place? This stuff is coming out. More people are reporting more of this kind of paranormal activity. As I said before, trying to get this episode together, trying to explain, it's not necessarily hard. Trying to talk about these types of things that are going on. we've got to look at the world that we're in. You see right there, mass and demonic possession sweeps school, and this is in one of the news tickers. This is back in May 18th. I think this is whenever those 100 school children were possessed. More of these types of things are happening. That's the stranger part about all of it. Trying to look at what a correlating factor is, trying to understand what all this means, that's the harder thing. As I said before, literally this happened this past weekend, but today a Wisconsin teacher was placed on leave after using a Ouija board in kindergarten class. And I'm not even guys, I'm not even a fourth of the way down from this list. I'll put it to you that way. I am not even a fourth of a way down from this list because of the types of things that are taking place. Why is this episode titled Organized Occult Operations? Is because we're looking at all these other things that are taking place. As you're seeing right there in the news ticker, it says that there is a mass hex across the globe. What does that mean? That means that people like Lady Gaga, Lana Del Rey, and all these other people that are practicing witchcraft at the higher levels, they're coming out. They're openly practicing witchcraft. They're no longer hiding. This is an organized occult operation. And who's at the helm of it all? Hillary Clinton. That's what I'm trying to correlate to you guys. In my mini cast that I did in our exclusive feed earlier this week, I was trying to highlight that fact. Don't you think it's strange that we're starting to see all of these things take place? All of these weird occult satanic things come together? And then who decides to come out from her rock? Hillary Clinton. These are the types of times that we're living in. Let me get back into this, okay? So if Father Jose Antonio Fertea is saying that Mexico needs a mass exorcism due to all of the sacrificial killings of Santa Muerta, where do you think those people are coming? What do you think they're doing? You don't think there's curanderas or brujas or brujeras that are here practicing this type of magic? There's so many different things that we've got to look at with this. As I've said before in other broadcasts, and actually other occult world videos that I've tried to do, we are no longer dealing with people who are practicing simply one form of magic or studying at least one discipline. They have the sum culmination of all of the things that that the generations have practiced. They have the access to the internet the same way you do. Why am I trying to raise awareness about this? We should not have people that are out here practicing witchcraft against the country, against Donald Trump. As I've said before, I am not one of his fans. This is the president, though, and so laterally everything he does affects us. If these people are practicing witchcraft, they are practicing witchcraft against us. And I'm sure this all seems like mumbo jumbo to someone that doesn't have a spiritual sense and awareness of these types of things that are going on. Because for people that have this sense, the sixth sense, the spiritual side to them, however you want to feel, or however you would like to define it for yourself, you're on fire because you're able to feel these things that are taking place. You're able to understand that there is some form of energy, some form of ambient energy that is around us. And these people somehow are tapped into it and practicing even worse magic. What is spirit cooking? What is pedogate? What is Pizzagate? Why are these things still prevalent? Is because this is the type of people that we're up against. We should not be having things like after school Satan, which I will get into as well. We should not be having all these other things take place. Let me get back into this timeline for you guys. March 15th, an Uber app possession, another app possession, which is strange because I've talked about this as well in other shows with Lori Alexander in other episodes, and I've mentioned it in other videos subsequently as well. The aspect of techno sorcery, of machine mysticism, arcanum machina. You see, the idea that this technology is somehow able to emit either a frequency or able to project or control us in some way to where it allows for these otherworldly entities to come through. As I said before, in Cambodia, there was an entire school that was subjected to a possession. They all started convulsing. Sure, this could just be some psychosomatic response that they're having. They could just be thinking, oh, I'm possessed. This is what's happening. And they go with it. But if more of these types of things are happening, what does that symbolize? Either we're having more cases of mental illness to where people are rapidly degrading, or that indeed some spirit, some entity is running through these types of programs, scenarios, having access, so to speak. That was on March 15th, and that was in Kalamazoo, Michigan, with Jason Brian Dalton. Heinrich Himmler's witchcraft books were found in the Czech library after 50 years. March 18th, 3 days later. After 50 years. Witchcraft books. What kind of things do you think that he had in his library? Because we all know that the Nazis were heavily involved in the occult. Why are these things starting to resurge today? You see, August 1st, 2016, the Satanic Temple starts to roll out their after-school Satan program. That is a problem. I personally believe that you should not be teaching religion in school. You should not be teaching some ideologies to people. In some way, shape, or form, people should be allowed to choose ways freely, but not advocated through these types of programs. Not advocated through these types of things where they can impress upon you an ideology. That's what we're seeing already with all of these crazy school programs, with all these crazy things that are taking place in the schools with Common Core. Like I said right here, Wisconsin teacher placed on leave after using a Ouija board in kindergarten class. What sense does that make? 71 students being removed from class after failing to show vaccination proof. That was in, I think, Minnesota. These types of things are going on in our school. And this kid right here, this is something else entirely. If we have time, I'll try to go into this. But this has caused a stir in a lot of people, and it's for good reason. Because this is emblematic, if anything, of what I'm trying to talk about. These types of things are to be promoted more so. And this is the California man who spends $50,000 on 100 procedures to transform himself into a genderless alien. And if you're looking at the picture, sorry, I almost had a Freudian slip. Creature picture is what I meant to say. If you're looking at the picture, the man, he goes by the name of Vinny O. He's got dark hair, some extended jawline, no eyebrows. It seems as though he's done some strange things with his hair, with his eyes. He truly does look alien, foreign, and all of this. But when looking at these types of things, guys, this is what happens whenever they talk about being genderless. This person's only 17. He's had brow bone fillers, multiple cheek reductions, 2 rhinoplasties, lip fillers, blackened contact lenses, unusually dyed hair color, and $130,000 or 130,000 euros, which is equivalent to $160,000 here, to have surgery on his genitalia, nipples, and belly button removed. He wants to be sexless, and these types of people are coming. So the people of that type of persuasion, of the homosexual persuasion, this is, if you ask me, this is the next step. As I've said before, these types of things, they're only going to magnify. They're only going to grow in intensity with the results. I mean, we're already having plastic surgery is very well known. I mean, what is Caitlyn Jenner? You see, and this is the type of things that we have going on. This is what's promoted in our face. So what do you think happens whenever they start to say, well, hey, maybe we should have after school Satan for our school, for our kids? Doesn't that make sense? Right here, Satanic Temple membership experiences surge, and this is February 28th. I'm going to leave that there for you guys because I'm still going to have to get into this timeline. August 11th, Hollywood publicly consults with the Vatican on The Exorcist movie and TV show. On the TV show. And there's a reason why I said publicly. Because we've got to look at whenever it comes right there with the extent of sexual abuse in the Catholic Church revealed by the Australian Royal Commission. There is some strange things going on in the Vatican. Why would they want to consult with people in Hollywood? Well, to make sure that they're getting all of the things right when they're trying to make all of these exorcists look real, or these exorcisms look real. That's the idea. It's because they want to desensitize you, as I talked about in our partnering episode earlier this week. I had a partner episode. I simulcasted with Ron Johnson of Stranger Than Fiction News. This is the continuation of the thought, basically. I had on Ron, where we simulcasted, and Ron pointed out the fact that these people are trying to desensitize you as well. They're trying to indoctrinate you into their cult. They're trying to ritualize us. They're trying to get us into their mindset. They want us to think like them. They want us to act like them. They want us to be godless like them. They want us to be heathenistic. They want us to do these types of things. This is what happens whenever we have things like 50 Shades of Grey. Because that makes perfect sense. That's exactly it. To degrade yourself. But it's for love. And the only reason this is propagated is because this is a rich person doing this. If this were to average people, it would, unfortunately, it would end up on a case of cold case, a CSI or Law and Order SVU, or one of those types of shows. But this is the reality that we're living in, because people want to feel this type of way. This is why Portland can after school Satan for elementary schools, and why we actually have videos that expose how Planned Parenthood is involved in illicit baby part trafficking. And people wonder why these types of things are happening. What is spirit cooking? What is Pizzagate? Have you been able to look at what's going on? Let me get back into this let me get back into this timeline for you guys. So August 11th, ironically enough, strange that we would stop right here. But August 11th is whenever we heard about the CERN sacrifice, how that took place, right? Last year, how apparently there was a sacrifice right there in front of the god Shiva at the LHC, and that's a highly protected nuclear facility. How did we get footage of this sacrifice? What does that mean? Why are we still talking about these types of rituals that subtly hint at the fact that beings are being brought through, either through technology or by magical means? Why are these organized occult operations taking place, and we're no longer able to correlate them? So keep that in mind, okay, the fact that this happened on August 11th. Okay, let's see what happens in the time that it takes for the source of the actual CERN clip to die, unfortunately, because it took 8 days for that to take place, okay? The CERN sacrifice video surfaced August 11th, and then unfortunately, the source of the video died August 19th. So let's see what happened there. August 15th, and me and Lori did an episode on this as well. The Oklahoma City Black Mass. Yes. How more occultists, Satanists, how more of these people came together. I think they performed it in a church. I'm not entirely sure. It escapes me. I should have put more notes down on that one. But that took place August 15th. August 16th is whenever we had articles coming out about government trying to attempted to control sermons. More restrictions whenever it came to these 501c3 churches. August 16th as well. We heard that Satanists were leading invocations over local government in Alaska. August 17th, from World News Daily, they said, quote, "There is an unprecedented amount of demonic activity taking place here in America." That very same day, I put out a video of how a woman who was being interviewed about how her neighbor was having an exorcism got possessed during the actual video, during her actual interview. During her actual interview. And this is what's even more crazy. I also put out another article talking about how since the 50s, the Vatican has paid close to $4 billion in child molestation lawsuits. Think about that. All this spirit cooking, all this Pizzagate, all this pedogate. What is this? Well, that's why, whenever people try to say this is fake news, this is that, or this isn't real. Unfortunately, I have to say this is not the case. And I talked about this with Ron yesterday in the episode. What is the sad reality whenever we look at this child pornography? Because we realize that it's not child pornography. These are snuff films. These are murder films. This is why it's not okay for Portland to say that after school Satan is okay. These people, we have got to realize that they do sick things. They operate trying to harness our good energy. You don't think that they have children that have been brought up Luciferian, brought up Satanists, who understand what they have to do? When you go back and you listen to some of the testimonies of people like Kathy O'Brien, I forget who David Icke interviews, but it is Arizona Wilder. Yeah, Kathy O'Brien, Arizona Wilder, as well as the kids from the Hampstead case, where they talk about their entire town being involved in Satanism. And I'm not saying this type of stuff to scare you. I'm saying this to illustrate that we should not have after-school Satan brought into schools. These types of things are emblematic of what I'm trying to get out in this entire episode. This is not okay. So the Vatican paying close to $4 billion in child molestation lawsuits, that should illustrate what's going on, the types of times that we're in. I myself am a child of the 90s. I've heard about, priests and choir boys, unfortunately, growing up. So whenever we have people like Milo Yiannopoulos and Marina Abramovich doing all these strange occult public rituals, which is something I would like to get into real quick. You're desensitizing people. You're indoctrinating them. You're allowing them to see certain things, think a certain way, be persuaded. You see, we should not have people like Milo Yiannopoulos and George Takei saying that pedophilia is okay. We should not have people like this Vinny O, who wants to become a genderless person, becoming public figures. And I understand that this is your lifestyle. You're more than welcome to choose it. But there's a difference between promoting and propagating this stuff and desensitizing us. That's what I'm trying to say. That's what I'm trying to illustrate. When they do these types of things, they lead in for other worser things to take place. Whenever, like I said, with Milo Yiannopoulos sitting in an entire bathtub full of pig's blood. What is that about? What is that about? Is that art? And saying how he wants to bring children into the actual tub. We should not have George Takei going on radio shows talking about his first experience being 13 years old and meeting with a 19-year-old. I don't want to. We should not be trying to hear these types of things. This is what's going on. More of these types of things are happening. So to get into this, 2 days later, after we found out that the Vatican paid close to $4 billion in child molestation lawsuits since the 1950s, 2 days later after that, that's whenever the source of the CERN sacrifice video was found dead. Strange, right? Or at least that's what they would have you think. That's strange. That's why I was like, well, who put out the actual video? Where is this coming from? Why do we have access to this? What does this mean? What are they trying to say? And basically what we're talking about is bringing forth demons, bringing forth these entities. But whenever we have people that are growing up pedos and growing up Luciferian, they're practicing this magic, thinking that this is life already. This is what's normal. To go about your life in the daytime, to do your dues, to go to school, to have your job, to play the perfect charade of the perfect American family, to go about your life perfectly fine during the daytime. But whenever the nighttime comes, you practice these rituals. You sacrifice these animals. You do these certain things. People don't understand that. People don't understand that we also have children, moon ritualized children. It's whenever they ritualize or demonize the fetus, where they call forth entities to try to demonically power or in charge these entities. We have people, generational and legacies, that are walking around, that are carrying this out, that are doing more of these things, that are coming together that are having these occult or these organized occult operations. You see. If you don't think this is all strange and this has no correlation, well, let me look back at this timeline. On August 22nd, 2016, that's whenever the climate activists started to introduce the idea of a birth tax. A birth tax. You come into the world, so you're consuming oxygen. You're consuming all the stuff we need. So you're going to have to be taxed, or your parents are going to be taxed. Sorry, as if they didn't have to pay enough for diapers, food, shelter, clothing, et cetera, et cetera. You see, your parents now will be taxed, or in the future you will be taxed for having children. This is what they're trying to put forth. Doesn't that sound like a sick idea? Who would think about these types of things, if but not authoritarian and evil people? You see, here in my own state of New Mexico, we had that strange possession of that girl who apparently chopped up a baby, or dismembered a baby. And this is that if that doesn't blow your mind, it's one thing to say it. But at the time, whenever we were hearing about the report, it was insane.
Hear me, O spirits of water, earth, fire, and air, heavenly hosts, demons of the infernal realms, and spirits of the ancestors. I call upon you to bind Donald J. Trump, so that he may fail utterly, that he may do no harm to any human soul, nor any tree, animal, rock, stream, or sea. Bind him so that he shall not break our polity, usurp our liberty, or fill our minds with hate, confusion, fear, or despair. And bind too all those who enable his wickedness, and those whose mouths speak his poisonous lies.
So check this out. What are we always hearing? And I'll get into this article after I mention a date real quick. September 14th, 2016, a teenage girl was exorcised for 5 hours after being possessed by a demon she summoned. So this day and age, today, or at least February 27th, whenever we were looking at this, or whenever it was put up by Lana Del Rey on the 24th on her Twitter, these are the elite, the Hollywood insiders, the celebrities, the entertainment industry. These are the people that are practicing these occult rituals, that are doing these types of things, that are saying it's okay to come out and practice this type of witchcraft. And look at what responses they're getting. Look at what kinds of things they're doing to society. Look at what kinds of people they're creating. People that are godless. People that don't really think about these types of things. People that bring Ouija boards to kindergarten classes. Maybe that's the article that we should get into next. The fact that all of these types of things, they're affecting our children. To us, we seem like we're desensitized to it. We're not trying to entertain or even understand or get behind it. This is something basic and simple. People want to, throw it out the window. But what happens when you take a step back and you look at what really happens with all this and the implications of it, they're basically trying to popularize the concept of practicing magic. And so there are people who will do these types of things, who will seek out higher forms of magic, different types of magic, making different pacts with other entities, other creatures, and all kinds of other things. Because I have a video I want to play for you guys shortly after this, or after the next article, that kind of illustrate this. The fact that whenever we have all this stuff with magic being put out there, you're going to have kids that go out there and try these types of things. You're going to have people that end up getting consumed by these types of energies and entities, and if they're not aware of where they come from and what the intention is behind them, and how there are higher level entities that are working in the shadows and in these higher planes, doing these types of ninth dimensional chess moves to recruit other people, we don't understand the levels at which they're operating. You see. So as I said before, let's get into this article. Instead of jumping all over this timeline about this Wisconsin teacher and how she was placed on leave after using a Ouija board in kindergarten class. If that doesn't sound strange, if that doesn't shake your cranium a little bit, I don't know what will. If that doesn't jar you, who says that's okay? Who says that's okay? I mean, I can understand doing a presentation on the Ouija board to kindergarten class children, but to bring an actual item like that to the class, that's beyond me. Let's get into this article, and it is from End Times headline. It says that a public school teacher in Wisconsin has been placed on leave after using a Ouija board in her kindergarten classroom. As previously reported, in December 2014, Google reported that the searches for the Ouija boards had risen 300% following the release of the film Ouija. Despite the film's conclusion that some things aren't meant to be played with, the movie reportedly piqued the interest of many of its viewers. And I'm going to stop there and say that that's precisely what I'm talking about. Whenever they put out movies like Ouija, whenever they put out all of these movies like Bye Bye Man, and even some of the things behind Slenderman, because I feel like that's them being able to create a Tibetan thought projection, a tulpa, so to speak. Whenever they're doing these types of things, they're allowing for people to say that it's okay to practice it. That's what I was trying to say before with Lana Del Rey and Lady Gaga all coming out saying practice this type of witchcraft against Donald Trump. Whenever you have teachers bringing in Ouija boards in a kindergarten class, I know these are kindergarten children, but they may not even remember these types of things, but still, it's the way in which the teacher went about it. We don't know whether or not this teacher was one of these dual agent Satanists, one of these good in the day, evil in the nighttime Satanists. You see, we don't know that. But the fact that this takes place is controversial. I imagine there are a couple of people around here expecting me to stick up for this teacher. Unfortunately, that's not what I'm here to do. Even whenever it's not part of a religious practice, that's really inappropriate, especially for kindergartners. Spiritual things aside, Ouija boards are so controversial that any attempt to bring them into an educational setting should be done so with extreme care. I'm going to say not at all. Not at all. Suspension and discipline is the right reaction here. Ouija boards don't really belong in an educational setting, especially not in grade schools. Kind of makes you start to think about if wanting teachers to be free to express their religious beliefs in the classroom is such a good idea after all. There's only one way a Ouija board can be dangerous: if it falls off a shelf during an earthquake and hits you in the head. That's total nonsense. It's totally nonsense. But think about this. They're allowing these types of things to happen. Well, clearly not. They're not allowing these types of things to happen. They're trying to stop them. But people have this in their mindset. We don't know how many people could be involved in some of these Luciferian circles. Right there in the ticker, Brad Pitt is sickened by Angelina Jolie's Hollywood Illuminati rituals, as if he's not involved with them as well, while over there in the video feed we're hearing from Anna Lucas the horrifying reality of the elites and their connections to the satanic pedophile rings. As I said before, we don't know how many of these people are involved in all these occult operations, these organized occult operations. But I can tell you this: we do know that they're taking place, and they're becoming more overt in their establishment, in how they're going about these types of things. You see, more possessions are taking place. They're saying that exorcists, they're dwindling. They're dwindling. September 20th, 2016, the Satanic Temple opens up their international headquarters in Salem, Massachusetts. And 3 days later, a school was ordered to allow the after-school Satan Club. So they tried to fight it, but apparently they have some Satanists in some high places. And what does that mean? Have we been that infiltrated? Has the educational system been that infiltrated? I wanted to try to get articles dating back to these dates, but there's only so much that I can do. There's only so far I can scroll before I literally have an information overload, and it just becomes mush, And what's strange, ironically enough, about all those dates, September 27th, Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie fall out over their Illuminati connections. And the leaked tape. The leaked tape illustrating the fact that indeed Angelina Jolie practiced some occult rituals. Now, before we actually got into that other article, I told you guys I wanted to show you a video about what happens whenever you make pacts with certain entities. You see how I said before, them trying to desensitize us, saying that it's okay to practice these types of magic. You see, so what is the most common looked at thing whenever we look at magic? People want to try to be so mystified that they're willing to do anything. They want to be deified. But in this video clip, it's about 2 minutes long. In this video clip, you guys will actually see what I consider genuine magic. But the idea behind it, when I'm looking at this is a demon magician. This is someone who has made a pact with an entity in it, and he's carrying it around with him. You see. So with that being said, let's look at this video. And I'm not exactly sure of who this man is. This actually popped up in my newsfeed today. Like I said, this is what's strange, is so much more of this stuff is coming out. You see, so let's get into this video. Here he goes with the smoke tricks. Now he's beckoning somebody from the crowd. And he's made a hole in the man's shirt. And now he is putting the cigarettes in the hole that he made in the gentleman's shirt. And they're not there. He's just sucking on his thumb. And he lit. If that smoke came from his mouth, I don't know. And the cigarettes fell from his zipper. So I just wanted to show you guys that real quick to illustrate that people are now practicing these types of rituals. Perfect. As you're seeing over here in 1997 with Marina Abramovich's spirit cooking ritual, people are now practicing these types of public rituals. As I said before with Milo Yiannopoulos, they need this type of energy that other people offer, because we are all capable of generating our own energy. So what happens whenever they conduct these types of public rituals, as they're able to, as if they are psychic vampires or energy vampires, feed off of the ambient energy that is being presented. That's why they want your attention, so that they can use it for their own intention. You see. So in the actual video, you guys saw him levitating cards, teleporting cigarettes, and pyromancy, controlling fire, and all these types of things. What do you think that means? If this is somebody just doing this off the cuff publicly to feed himself for the day, I don't know. It could have been very good sleight of hand. We have the technology these days. However, I don't feel like that's the case. I definitely feel like this is one of the people, as you saw with him levitating the cards, having it literally have a sentience about it, its own consciousness, its own direction to it, so to speak. When these people are doing these types of things, they've made pacts with the dark side, and they've asked for certain abilities. They've asked for certain things. What do you think Hillary Clinton's thing was? Because it seems like she's still not gone. September 27th, 2016, they said that there was a surge in Satanism and black magic. As I said before, there is an ambient energy in which we can all draw upon. However, these people, they're drawing upon the energy and then misdirecting it or redirecting it in a satanic manner, trying to feed off of the fear, some of our lower base emotions. You see, they want to try to perpetually keep us in a state of subservience and fear to try to trap us here, because they do not know how to operate in a place of love and understanding and in compassion. These people that do these types of things, whenever we have Satanists pushing for Baphomet statues in the Arkansas Capitol on September 28th, 2016, what does that say? They're trying to establish their domain. They're trying to establish what's theirs, allowing certain spirits, allowing certain things to take place. As the Bible says, it talks about this. For we wrestle not with flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers and wickedness in high places. When they do these types of things, whenever they have these satanic Baphomet statues, we know what they mean. We know the implications behind these types of things. You see, we know what that means. That is them declaring their God. That is them telling everyone in the area who owns what. It's no longer about gangs. This is a spiritual war that I'm trying to describe to you guys in so many different ways. How is this occult? How is this? What does this mean? Well, I'll put it to you this way. Pope Francis is exposed for quietly letting pedophile priests off with little or no punishment. So that pedophile organization, whatever's going on in the Vatican, yeah, it's still there. I think they really do use a lot of this. I think they use a lot of this pedophilia as a form of blackmail and incrimination. They use it as a way to indoctrinate other people into it. This is why we have Trump coming out to say that he will do these types of things, that he'll use the full extent of the government to stop human trafficking.
To set this up, it's been so important to them, and I want to make it clear today that my administration will focus on ending the absolutely horrific practice of human trafficking, and I am prepared to bring the full force and weight of our government to the federal and at the federal level and the other highest levels, whatever we can do in order to solve this horrific problem, getting worse, and it's happening in the United States, in addition to the rest of the world, but it's happening in the United States, which is terrible. Human trafficking is a dire problem, both domestically and internationally, and is one that's made really a challenge, and it's really made possible to a large extent more of a modern phenomenon by what's taking place on the internet, as you probably know. Solving the human trafficking epidemic, which is what it is a priority to set this up. It's been so
because it really is an epidemic. I actually have a clip for you guys, as I mentioned earlier, how that the UK police announced that there's so many pedophiles, they will stop arresting them because it is truly an epidemic. There is it's wild. It's wild. As I said before, I wish I had the clip ready for you guys. Or the Hampstead kids were talking about how invasive all of this pedophilia is, how all this organized occult operations, how it has literally everyone.
Britain's most senior child protection officer has suggested that low-risk paedophiles shouldn't be sent to jail.
Chief Constable Simon Bailey says lower-level offenders should be given counselling and rehabilitation. Instead, he joins us now. Good morning to you. Front page of the Times newspaper this morning. What do you mean by this? And some people concerned that perhaps this gives the wrong message.
Well, I think there's a very
I think it does too.
That I'm giving today. The police service, working with the National Crime Agency, has never been so robust in this field. We are arresting over 400 men every month. We are safeguarding over 500 children every month as a result of targeting those people that would view indecent imagery of children. But the fact is, we are simply becoming inundated with a number of referrals that we are having to deal with and the number of cases that our child protection teams are now having to cope with. And we have sophisticated risk assessment tools.
Britain's most senior
That's a little disgusting. That is only a little bit disgusting. They're literally saying that because there are too many pedophiles, they're arresting over 400 people a month, safeguarding at least 500 kids a month. There are too many pedophiles that they have literally either got to stop and create an entirely separate bracket or come up with a whole new system because what they're doing is not working. And that's insane. They said because police cannot cope with the huge influx of reports of child abuse, they now say that pedophiles whose their only crime is viewing child pornography should undergo rehabilitation instead of going to prison. I'm going to read that one more time. And you guys can go read this as well if you want. It's from the Event Chronicle, and they put it up February 28th. It says that because police cannot cope with the huge influx of reports of child abuse, they now say pedophiles whose only crime is viewing child pornography should undergo rehabilitation instead of going to prison. Instead. In a mere 3 years, child abuse reports have skyrocketed in a volume by 80%. And Chief Constable Simon Bailey of the National Police Chiefs Council and head of Operation Hydrant, quote, which is investigating multiple allegations of historic sexual abuse across the UK, the BBC reports, knew his view would cause nervousness and draw headlines, but he said the number of reports of abuse were at huge proportions. A NSPCC study said in late 2016 used figures which suggested that numbers of individuals looking at images could exceed 500,000. Child pornography, indeed, an incredibly serious crime from any standpoint. Seriously, it really is. If you're looking at kids, you gotta go. I don't know, something's wrong with you. There's with all this stuff, guys. Before I keep going on to this article, let me try to mark my spot before I keep going on to here in this article. With all this stuff, this sexualizing, this hypersexualizing, this ritualistic sexualizing. If you guys think about it, they're trying to, like I keep trying to say, they're trying to desensitize us. They're trying to have us in their mindset to where we are immoral, to where we're godless, to where they think this is okay. Free love, man-boy love association. That's wrong. All of this is wrong. Corey Feldman in Hollywood has come out and talked about this as well. Elijah Wood has as well, how pedophilia is a huge deal. Huge deal. But what's even worse is look at how many people are connected. How many people have I just been listing off that are pedophiles? All of this started with John Podesta and Hillary Clinton and all these people involved in Pizzagate, Pedogate, that it's evolved into. Because look at where we're at. That's what I'm trying to illustrate by saying that all these organized occult operations, these pedophiles, what do you think they're doing? People that, whenever you look at the cases, whenever all this stuff takes place, these are usually people that have had this happen to them. They usually do it to other people. They're trying to pass down this weird mindset, this growing up pedo, this growing up Luciferian. And if you ask me, I feel like they're one and the same. It's an anti-human mindset, Satan's extermination protocol. And whenever you look at all these cases, these people, they're not. They may have their own view on life, but you can see how their life view is affecting them. And I'm really not trying to pass judgment. I'm simply saying that when we're looking at this, I'm trying to say that these people are involved in some strange and occult things. You see, we should not have militant homosexuals and atheists beating up priests in the middle of the street. We already have ISIS taking care of that, beheading priests. We already have extremists who are doing these types of things. We should not be contributing to this. You see what I'm saying? And that's exactly what's going on, is by having us identify with these ideologies and playing by these types of rules and doing these types of things. We're allowing for them to dictate how we're engaged. Right there, where it says that Satanism has infiltrated the church, the Christian church, and this is by X Witch Beth. While over here in the video ticker, we have the spirit cooking video where it's illustrating all the things that have taken place with this. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that these people who are either demonically charged or involved in some heavy occult stuff, they're carrying out the wishes and the will of something that has truly a horrifying vision for us. You see, this is not an okay world for us to live in, where we have Satanists leading invocations, and the UK police chief, who may have been compromised. Somebody may have gotten to him, but we should not be having the UK police chief, the chief constable, come out and say that there are literally too many pedophiles. We have got to figure out a way to classify all these cases. You see. But what's even stranger, if you ask me, like I said before, is if you look at all of this, all these things that are taking place, why is Hillary Clinton coming back? Like the capstone on the pyramid, signifying all of this evil stuff. Why is Hillary Clinton coming back?
Hello, Democrats. Thank you all for coming together to represent our party at its best. united, energized, and ready to wage and win the battles ahead. Now, as Democrats, we have diverse views and backgrounds. We are Democrats, after all. But we're bound together by the values and hopes we share for our country. I'm grateful for all your support and hard work during the election. Being your candidate was the honor of a lifetime. And I was inspired to see women and men from all walks of life and every corner of our country coming together on behalf of our shared values. And while we didn't get the outcome we worked so hard for, I'll always be proud of the campaign we ran, a campaign that was better and stronger thanks to each of you. Hello, Democrats.
Hello, Democrats. Hello, Democrats. So realize that this is going on. Okay, and there's a reason why I put up that she is back whenever we also have Donald Trump talking about Obama orchestrating some of his operatives. Okay, what we're having I'm really trying to not make this a political thing, but all of this distraction, this political nonsense, all of this is meant to disorient us so we don't look at the bigger picture. Okay, as I'm trying to illustrate with all this stuff, we are being spiritually attacked. This is Kabbalistic Jewish magic. They have got to tell us certain things before they do certain things in order for it to be twice as effective and to carry out the way that it needs to. Why is Hillary Clinton coming back as soon as we hear about all these occult witches trying to take on the president, trying to basically dismantle America? It's because they're basically confirming in their own, if you ask me, in their own occult way that indeed she is practicing this type of magic, that it is okay to practice this type of magic. Azalea Banks came out on Twitter or Instagram, one of the social media platforms, talking about how she had to clean her sacrificial closet because she's a bruja, she's a witch. She admitted it. More people are coming out, like I'm trying to illustrate and tell you guys, more people are coming out talking about these types of things, be openly practicing this type of magic, opening the gate, opening the door, allowing for these types of energies and entities to come through. They may not think, and this is the problem with humans. This is what we do. We feel like we have all the control, and as I said before, throughout the show, there's a ninth dimensional chess that is going on, and where these people pull their energy from is where we need to look at. The things that they're doing is what we need to look at. What is this place of power that they're trying to operate from? What intentions, what pacts have they made? What deals have they struck? What have they given up in order to achieve these types of powers? You see, why do we know this? Why is the occult trying to take on the president? Why do we have witches coming out trying to bind Trump?
In the name of all, God, in the name of all, what goes up must come down or fly. Of all the trees, the forest, trees, deserts, rivers, and seas, in the name of justice and liberty and love and equality and peace, bind them in chains, bind their tongues, bind their works, bind their wickedness.
Whole lot of yelling going on. Whole lot of yelling going on in that scene. I would definitely tell you guys to go check it out yourself. But those were the witches that were binding Trump. They were basically having their own incantation, and in the actual video, the full video, you see a local Christian lady come up with a mirror, basically using it to try to reflect their spells, reflect their intention. So what does this mean? What does this mean whenever you can send out a text and it can get picked up by multiple news outlets all over the place, underground and mainstream and alternative, sending out a call for a mass hex to send this type of energy to America, to bind us, to bind Trump? What does that mean in the long term? We don't understand. We really don't understand that these are forces. These are real forces that we're involved with. You see, when you have that much concentrated energy, that much intention focused on one thing, there is bound to be some effect. Meditation has been scientifically proven to help people. And if it's able to help one person in the immediate area, imagine what a group of people meditating would do. Imagine what a town of people would do. Imagine that city-wide giant pentagram, June 6th, 2016, by the Satanic Temple of Los Angeles, and what their intentions were. You guys realize I didn't even get into the timeline. The timeline. I didn't even get into this as much as as much as I should have to illustrate these types of things. There is a massive surge in demonic activity. I didn't talk like the Temple of Baal. What do you think this means? The Temple of the Arch of Triumph, the Syrian Gateway. They're putting this up all over London, New York, and I forget where else, but they actually recently promoted it at the World Government Summit. And what I'm trying to illustrate with all of these different examples and these things that are going on is that there is magic or some kind of energy being brought back into this earth, and there are people that have been practicing it. And my thoughts truly are, if magic were not real beforehand, because of the things that have taken place these days and the gates that have been opened and through all the other things that are taking place, it is real today. Hollywood has tricked you. It has shown you its own form of magic, but there is something else entirely different. Whenever you have this many people continuously praying, putting out these kinds of vibes on a regular basis, like a wave, like like a cell phone tower, or an ELF tower, or a Gwent tower, or any of these types of things that emit these type of frequencies that can be picked up and affect the human behavior. What do you think that means? Whenever you have an organized group of people who are doing this systematically, what does that mean? See, we can freak out about the Vatican paying $4 billion in child molestation lawsuits, but whenever we have to shift our paradigm and look at an entire global organization of witches casting a global spell, it gets a little strange, because that's putting it into perspective, the things that we have to deal with. You see, that's why it is a huge problem. Did you know in 1977, the CIA feared that psychics could make an entire city lost in time and space? Really? They thought that they could psychically nuke a city and disrupt it. But with things like, there's so many different things coming out because we're having to look at the way that the world is changing. Our paradigm shift. Okay, this awakening process that's taking place. All these things that are coming out now are emblematic of the age that we're in. Okay, and I've talked about this as well. Things like Project Stargate, Project Grill Flame, and how these are other forms of governmental programs where they've messed with remote viewing, psychic abilities, telekinesis. They have entertained these types of practices, these types of extrasensory capabilities. And whenever these types of things go on, like I said before, what do you think the intention of that was? These organized occult operations. The witches binding Trump, trying to send a hex around the entire globe. Satanists in California doing a citywide giant pentagram to raise awareness for Satan. Satanic temples and satanic after-school programs popping up, this, that, and the third. This is the world that we are living in because we're unaware of how there is a very spiritual component to how we operate here in the world. But because we have been so systematically dismantled from ourselves, from our soul, from the source, we no longer understand it. That's a perfect title right there. Belief sustains fourth dimensional entities. And that was put up February 12th, which is perfect because that's exactly what it is. I don't have the time to go into depth about how the understanding of the fourth dimension has created this dimension, but indeed, it correlates to what we're talking about. The fact that they have these types of energies and entities that are in this realm outside of us, but can interfere or interact with us in this one, you see. And this is very real, because people can act as hosts to these types of energies and to these types of entities, and whenever this takes place, they allow these types of things to take place, and they allow for the spirit to work through them. That's a lot of what channeling is, and this is why it's told, or this is why we're told to not do this, to not listen to seducing spirits, to heed that, to question the spirits, to know whether or not they're righteous if they come bearing messages from God, because there's a whole lot that we have to look at whenever it comes into all of the metaphysical understanding of all of the spiritual implications that this comes with. What I'm trying to say is that the dark side is rising. More possessions are taking place. More of these strange, face-biting, face-cannibalistic things are happening. For the people that are listening, we actually have a video portion where it's showing Angelina Jolie talk about her ritualized experiences in Hollywood, and how she said that she could feel that energy, and how it takes you to a very real place, and how some rituals are actually filmed, and she has some of hers filmed. That's what I'm saying. When we're looking at these child pornography things, these snuff films, we have got to be honest and realize that these are people who are practicing really high occult dark magic on these babies, and then killing them. If you look at some of the pictures that John Podesta had up, and some of the things that James Elefantis had on his Instagram, with children, smaller children tied up, and people standing around smoking cigarettes and doing all kinds of strange things in weird positions. It's crazy, because that's, if anything, that's the connection I'm trying to make, is that why am I talking about all this black magic, all this Satanism, all these things that are taking place, is because the very people that are doing it are the people that are in our face, the ones saying that they're here for peace, the ones saying that they're trying to be here to do righteousness. These are wolves in sheep's clothing. They're trying to take, as I said before, these are people that take our lower, baser emotional energy. They want our fear, because they can't handle real love. They can't handle real compassion. They can't handle all these things that are taking place, that come with the natural growth, our natural awakening. They've tied into this artificial, evil, fake energy that it seeks to only reproduce. You see, so it as I keep trying to illustrate, it is a deep metaphysical, spiritual battle that we are engaged in. And whenever we're looking at all of this, it gets real complicated trying to explain something that you feel, something that we all feel. That's the rise of this energy. That's what we're able to tell is these things are going on. And now that they're surfacing, now that they're coming out, people are wanting to do things about them. And because we have been so separated from ourselves, we're seeing an influx, as the UK police chief, or the UK police constable is seeing with these pedophiles. We're seeing an influx of people trying to awaken, get active, and get on the street, because they've been asleep for so long, they don't know what to do. And now we have people, unfortunately, like the Comet Ping Pong shooting, whether or not that was a false flag or a true patriot, we have people that are getting upset about the things they're seeing and getting out on the street. And the only thing that we can tell people these days is learn to be more informed about the actions you're taking. Be aware of the types of situations that's going on. Whenever I put together compilations and episodes like this, is to show you that indeed you need to pray. You also need to meditate. You need to find time for yourself. You need to disconnect. You need to look within. You need to understand the inner verse. Because as more of this starts to happen, more of these attacks will increase. And if you are not aware of yourself and understanding how effective one person can be, if you're not praying yourself up, I try to before every show so that we don't have any connection problems like we like to have. But if you're not praying for protection, if you're not having someone pray for your protection, you're vulnerable to these types of attacks. If you don't care about your spiritual side, then these people have won. Then they've got a cow that they can milk until they're done with you. We're constantly saying how these people want to use us as batteries, how they like to feed on us. This is how. That's what I'm saying. These are these wolves in sheep's clothing, because we've got to digest what's going on and what's happening, not only to us, but to the psyche, to our soul. Why is this happening now? Is because these are the type of people who have these intentions. I've said this throughout our entire series, or I'm trying to say this more so. They are trying to circumvent our renaissance. They are trying to take our energy and put it towards their own goals, where they have their own intentions and their own ideas of how we should live. And clearly, we can tell right now with the things that they're doing, this is not a world that we would want to live in, where people are genderless, confused, lost, amoral, where we believe in nothing, and where nothing matters. That does not sound like a world that people want to live in. That doesn't sound like a world I would want to live in. But that's all I really got for you guys. I hope I gave you enough examples to see that indeed we are dealing with a beast, an evil, evil beast. These organized occult operations are very real. If anything, I think we might have to make this more of a series. I don't know, or maybe just get back to the occult worlds. We'll figure it out along the way. But these things are very real. Pizzagate, that's the tip of the iceberg. I always tell people to go look at what Ted Gunderson has said. As I said before with Kathy O'Brien, the Hampstead case, and even Arizona Wilder, there's evidence out there that suggests that we are dealing with some unruly evil, something that seeks to wish all human life harm in the name of love. And this fake compassion that I always talk about as well. It's wild. It is wild, the types of things that we have to deal with. Truly. Like I said, that's all I really have for you guys. If you like what you're hearing and you want to hear more, definitely become part of our Patreon exclusive membership process, where you're getting access to not only episodes, but all the extra work that we're doing, all the things that we have to offer. Because as you can tell, I am really trying to engage this culture war and help as many people as possible. And if you like what you're hearing and you want to help me help other people. That's basically what it boils down to. Help me help other people. And as I said before with Paradox Radio, we're always trying to figure out how to make that much better and make it into a 24-hour radio station. A whole lot of things planned with that. Got a whole lot of things planned with Paradox Radio. Guys, this is the time. It is our time, and we have got to figure out a way to shine. We cannot let these people try to snuff our light, because we are more than capable. And I believe in you. I believe in what we are capable of doing. I believe in what humans are able to do. But I'm sure you're tired of hearing me rant. I'm sure you're tired of it. But like I said, if you guys have any questions, feel free to email me. I'll have it in the description bar below. And as always, guys, stay vigilant, expose lies, and share truth. This is Noisera, Freedom Faction, out.